Scott Adams has been canceled.
Mr. Reagan.
All right, so if you are not yet aware of the controversy around Scott Adams said something incredibly provocative the other day. He basically said that white people should stay away from black people. Now, we'll watch the clip of Scott Adams in one moment. First, of course, I have to sell you something. Noble Gold Investments is pleased to let you know that gold is the best investment class for 2022. Through our record-breaking inflation rate, crashing market, and crypto scams, there is one asset that has held its own: gold. According to longtermtrends.net, gold has actually outperformed the S&P 500, Dow, and Bitcoin for 2022. Had you invested in the Dow a year ago, you would be down almost 10%. If you'd invested in the S&P 500 a year ago, you'd be down more than 20%. Had you invested in Bitcoin a year ago, you would be down more than 65%. Yes, gold has outperformed them all in 2022, and silver is not far behind. While the world was hailing other assets, the real hedge, gold and silver, are the only assets that would have protected your wealth. So join thousands of others by opening a gold IRA or silver IRA with Noble Gold Investments. Get in before the end of this month and you will bag a free 1/4 ounce American Gold Eagle coin with every qualified IRA of $50,000 or more. You cannot go wrong with Noble Gold Investments, and there are thousands of 5-star reviews.
Well, Rasmussen poll had a provocative little poll today. Do you agree or disagree with the statement, it's okay to be white? 26% of blacks said, no, it's not okay to be white. 21% weren't sure. Add them together, that is 47% of black respondents were not willing to say it's okay to be white. So if nearly half of all blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll, not according to me, according to this poll, that's a hate group. That's a hate group. And I don't want to have anything to do with them. And I would say, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. Just get the f*** away. Wherever you have to go, just get away. Because there's no fixing this. This can't be fixed. Right? This can't be fixed. You just have to escape. So that's what I did. I went to a neighborhood where, I have a very low black population. So I think it makes no sense whatsoever as a white citizen of America to try to help black citizens anymore. It doesn't make sense. It's no longer a rational impulse. And so I'm gonna back off from being helpful to black America because it doesn't seem like it pays off. Like I've been doing it all my life, and the only outcome is I get called a racist. That's the only outcome. It makes no sense to help black Americans if you're white. I'm just saying, get away. Just get away.
This was such a dumb thing for him to say. All right, and I don't think that he meant exactly what it sounds like he meant. And he did go on a YouTube channel called Hotep, this black guy's YouTube channel, and he did kind of explain himself and clarify. And he clarified essentially in the way that I interpreted what he said. Because this is what I think Scott Adams was trying to say. If there is a group of people of whom the majority, over 50%, hate you for your skin color or hate you for whatever association you have or whatever group you were born into, maybe don't live in a neighborhood with those people in it. Maybe don't live in a region in which there's a high concentration of those people that hate you, right? Of course that's true, right? A lot of people know that in America there are these no-go zones, right? You can't walk through some black neighborhoods in America because it's too dangerous. My father was driving in Chicago once and he got lost, and he went and he stopped and he asked this guy for directions. And the guy was like, dude, what are you doing in this neighborhood? You got to get out of here, right? And he gave him directions out, and he was like, you got to get out of this neighborhood now. Like, they'll kill you. I've had the same thing happen to me. I had my car stolen once in Los Angeles, so I had to go to the closest police station, which happened to be down in like Compton or whatever, in sort of like South Central. And I'm standing there waiting for the bus because my car was stolen. I had to take the bus, which I don't like doing in LA anyway. This is a long time ago. This is before Uber. And this like older black woman comes up to me and she's just like, oh, honey, what are you doing in this part of town? You know, like you gotta get out of here. So, yeah, there are neighborhoods that you can't go into if you're white. You just can't, right? You're in trouble. You know what I mean? So, yeah, you should not live in a neighborhood with a high concentration of black people. If black people in America, in very high rates, hate white people, that's obviously true. But that's not exactly what Scott Adams said. He said white people need to stay away from black people.
The best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. Just get the f*** away. Wherever you have to go, just get away.
And he didn't add qualifications, right? A qualification is like a word or a term or an expression or a phrase or something that alters your statement and adds specificity or clarifies it or makes it clear in terms of what you actually mean. What he needed to say was groups of black people or neighborhoods with black people, black neighborhoods, right? Places in which black culture is dominant, stuff like that. He didn't do that. He didn't add these qualifications. And I do this occasionally where I'll make an assumption that if I'm talking about a group, people should understand that, yes, there are exceptions, yes, there are variations. What I'm talking about is, you know, in general, right? That's called a stereotype. And everybody knows that stereotypes have exceptions and variations within a group. Everybody knows that. But what Scott Adams said, it really did sound like he was saying black people, period. That's what it sounded like he's saying. Now, he laughs this off when he's talking about a hotep, like, could you believe that people actually think that what I meant was every single black? This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
You know, when I say stay away from black people, anybody who thought that was like a literal, like, yeah, all black people, if you see one coming, run. Do you think that I went on, you know, a live stream and said, stay away from black people, every one of them, there's no exceptions, whatever you do, just ask yourself, was there any thinking behind it?
But see, the way he said what he said in that video, it genuinely sounded like he meant every single black person. Get
the hell away from black people. Just get the f*** away. Wherever you have to go, just get away.
Like that's the one thing I really can't stand about Scott Adams, and why I stopped following him on Twitter, actually, is because every opinion that he has, he expresses in the most smug, self-righteous way imaginable. And he's very dismissive of other people's opinions if they differ from his, and he sort of acts like everybody who disagrees with him is an idiot. He kind of dismisses his critics as if people are stupid for misinterpreting what he said. Well, if you're not clear, of course people are going to misinterpret what you said, you smug bastard. So I don't like that attitude that he has. I think that he should be a lot more humble. That's essentially my criticism of Scott Adams, is that he's not humble. He's very intelligent. He is a self-proclaimed leftist, or left-wing, or left-leaning anyway. But he's smart. He's a very smart guy, and he's got interesting ideas. He did say in the Hotep interview that he believes that the reason that black crime is so high in America is because of systemic racism, which instantaneously I like lose 90% of my respect for the guy.
There is, unfortunately, because of systemic racism, those high crime areas are concentrated often in black areas for no fault of the black people, because systemic racism has, brought us to this point.
If you're that intelligent and you've fallen for this BS that systemic racism causes black people to commit crime, like what are you even talking about? What are you talking about? People have a choice whether or not they want to commit crime. You know what I'm talking about, like real crime, like violent crime. There's no systemic racism causing somebody to beat the crap out of his girlfriend or shoot, some kid down the street because they're in a rival gang or something like that. There's no reason for that. That's not systemic racism. That's not white people's fault. Come on, Scott. Get your head out of your ass. But here's the thing. I don't believe that Scott Adams is a racist, first of all, okay? What Scott Adams said essentially is actually right. First of all, he was going off of a Rasmussen poll that he himself was doubting. But I don't doubt it, right? The Rasmussen poll says that basically over 50% of black people have an unfavorable view of white people, right? And I think that's probably right. I mean, in my experience talking with my black friends and stuff, they'll tell me like, oh yeah, most black people hate white people or they're racist against white people.
I was raised to hate white people, pretty much. From history, et cetera, media. all these things. So I would say the poll is probably closer to the truth.
So, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that poll. And I often talk about that on my show and talk about how racist black people are in America and how it actually is bad for them, as well as for America as a whole and white people and everybody. It's terrible. You don't want that kind of divisive hate in America by any group, right? Black people should not be racist. We have to teach black kids in schools not to be racist against white people. Unfortunately, we do exactly the opposite with critical race theory and all this bullcrap, But yeah, a lot of black people do hate white people. That is true. Now, I did tweet, and it caused a little bit of controversy among my Twitter followers and other people. All right, so I wrote, the problem with Scott Adams' idea here is that he's defining black Americans as a monolithic group. This is a leftist mentality. The conservative perspective is to assess each person as an individual, regardless of their group. And, this is the pitfall of identifying groups of people and sort of dealing with them as this monolithic group, right? This is the problem that I've had since I was a kid with people saying that white people owe black people reparations. Really? White people owe black people reparations. Because I will say this, I've gone through my Ancestry.com and I have 0 ancestors that own slaves. Conservatives, at least the way that I was taught growing up, conservatives tend to believe that we should assess each other on our individual merits. Because we definitely tend to believe, most conservatives I know tend to believe that you should judge a man by the content of his character as opposed to the color of his skin. We tend to take the Martin Luther King speech seriously. Democrats don't. Democrats say white people are guilty of the sin of slavery, and they lump us all into a group. We're all one people that are all guilty of that sin, and we should all be punished for it, and we should all pay reparations, and we're all evil because of it. All right, I got to jump back in here, because while editing, I realized I didn't actually make my point, which was that the reason I'm emphasizing that Democrats tend to see black people as a monolithic group and white people as a monolithic group, and as Republicans we see people as individuals, is because I think that there is an incredible danger in looking at different races as monoliths. Because what ends up happening, so in the case of Scott Adams, right? He bought into this whole leftist idea that black Americans are the innocent victims and white people are the evil perpetrators. And as he's starting to get red-pilled, as he starts to realize some things about the world, that ugly truths, right? That maybe not all black people are such innocent victims, and maybe not all white people are such evil, bad oppressors, and all this kind of stuff. So if you're accustomed to that kind of thinking, that kind of this is a group and that's a group and one's bad and one's good, once you start to think, oh, actually, some of these black people are bad and some of these white people are good, then when you flip, right? You can flip, you'll start to say, maybe the black people are the bad ones and maybe the white people are the good ones. Okay. And then what happens? Then you just become a racist, right? So what, and I don't think Scott's racist, all right? I should clarify that. But here's a novel idea, all right? Here's a novel idea. Maybe some black people are bad and some black people are good. And maybe some white people are bad and some white people are good, right? Maybe there's good and bad people in every group. Novel idea, right? It's what we call nuance. And I know it's more difficult. It's a hell of a lot more difficult to look at the individual and say, are you a good person or are you a bad person? Let me assess this. It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to go, you've got white skin. You must be one of the evil ones. Oh, you've got dark skin. You must be one of the good victims, right? That's a lot easier. It's a hell of a lot easier. Here's the problem with that, though. It's wrong. It's wrong, okay? Not every black person is good. Not every white person is bad. Not every white person is good. Not every black person is bad. All right. So, in order to be accurate with your assessment of people in the world, you kind of maybe got to look past skin color. And the reason that I point this out so strongly is that, on all my videos that I've made about race, is that I do tend to find that white people are more often the victims of racism than black people or really anyone else in America or really anyone else in the world. White people, especially white Americans, are absolutely vilified, and it's terrible and it needs to end. But in the same way, we shouldn't then reverse it and do the same thing. Oh, black people are all violent. Black people all hate us. Black people are all criminals, whatever. You can't do that, right? You can't do that. People, black or white, we're all human beings. We're all tempted to do bad things in the world. Some people are better than others. Some people are good more often than others. You can have amazingly good white people. White men that are have an incredibly strong sense of duty and always want to do the right thing. You have black men that are incredibly good people, noble people who always want to do the right thing. And then you've got white people who are unbelievably criminal, just vicious, horrible people. And you have black men who are unbelievably vicious, nasty criminals. So you have the full spectrum on both sides. You have to look at people with nuance. That's the only way to accurately assess human beings in this world. And so for Scott Adams to think in these group terms so strongly, I think that is a symptom of the leftist mind and allowing yourself to sort of embrace that kind of thinking. And he's right when he says he doesn't want to help black people. You shouldn't be helping black people. You should just be helping people. If there are people that need your help them. Black people as a group don't need your help. I mean, Will Smith's black. Does he need your help? I don't think so. Right. And there are a lot of white people that probably could use your money just as much as some of the poor black people in the inner city that you think, your white savior guilt needs to help. Right. So stop thinking of black people as this monolith of victims that need your help. Poor people, people down on their luck, people who've had a hard time, they need your help, not black people. This kind of group thinking is, I don't know why it hasn't died out yet. I think it started to die out in like the 80s, and then we brought it back with a vengeance maybe like 10 years ago. And Black Lives Matter really, I mean, that was the real curse. That's the real poison. Black Lives Matter really brought back these identity politics crap, But leftists are keeping racism alive in America, and we have to fight against it. All right, back to me a couple hours ago. Here's where I think that maybe Scott Adams did do some good. Being this provocative and saying something this outrageous does force a lot of people to look into, well, what exactly did he mean? And then they start to see, okay, well, maybe black people are a little bit too racist against white people. And that is incredibly valuable. And so he's trying to make himself out as this martyr, like I was trying to do this good thing, and I allowed myself to get canceled so that I could broaden this conversation. That was not his intention. His intention was to get attention. That was it.
One of the things I've realized about myself, I like attention. I just kind of like it.
But maybe he does become a martyr. Maybe he does throw himself on the sword in order to broaden conversation in the end. Maybe that's what is going to happen now. And if that is what happened, I think it was unintentional, personally. I'm not going to give him credit. I don't think he intentionally did this. But if that's the result, then it's a good thing. At the end of the day, it's a good thing. So, do I think he should have done it? No. But could it potentially end up being a good thing? Maybe. We'll see. I've been screaming into my camera for like 3 or 4 years now. Black people are more racist in America than white people. Nobody will listen. Nobody will talk about that, right? It's an ugly reality. It's an ugly truth that nobody wants to admit, but it's true. And so it's something we have to discuss. And I will put a qualification on that. When I say that, I don't mean every single black person, obviously. But on average, in general, yeah, you'll find a lot more black racists against white people than you will find white racists against black people in America. And a lot of people will say, well, that's okay. It's justified because of all the evil that white people have done. And again, I'll get into this in other videos coming up, but we've not been bad to black people. On the whole, we've been incredibly generous. All right, well, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Have I been provocative in this video? Does the creator of Dilbert, does he deserve to be canceled? Did he go too far? Was what he said racist? Was it totally justified? Do you agree with him? Anyway, let me know. Until next time, remember, it's not that our liberal friends are ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. And because they say unbelievably stupid things sometimes. All right, good night.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation. Well, isn't this the liberal philosophy? The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back. get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.